All right, let's get into the first chapter of the leadership space, and a very exciting chapter. I mean, it opens up the whole book, the whole concept of the leadership space. Like, what is this about? So let me start at the beginning. The very first sentence of the book talks about what is leadership, and it defines leadership as, let me just say it, leadership is the power to create the future, which I think is a really cool way of looking at it, because you hear that leadership's about vision, right? I mean, leading is you're out in the front basically guiding people toward a positive destination, whether it's like, you're the leader of a troop, 10,000 years ago, and you're trying to find water, or you're trying to find out where the buffalo went. Like, you're guiding people to the future that's going to lead to their survival, right? Or maybe it's a more modern age and you're the leader of a company or the leader of a department, and you're leading people to success so that they can feed their families and have a life that feels wonderful, hopefully. That's our goal. So leadership is about creating the future. What's really interesting about that, though, is there's a couple of elements here. And one of the most important elements that I think often gets forgotten is leadership ultimately is not about ourselves. We're not leading ourselves. We're leading others, right? So fundamentally, leadership is other focused. And I think that's a really important thing to remember, that you are leading others. You're not, let me say it this way. I don't think that management is less than leadership, and I think they're equal, okay? But there's a distinction. I would literally say this. Management is more self-focused. It's like, I'm the manager, I hired you, you're here to do a job for me. Do the job. That has its place. But leadership is, no, I'm actually here to work for you, right? I'm not self-focused, I'm other-focused. I'm here to have you win, because if you win, I win. And so leadership is this beautiful reciprocal relationship. If I create energy, power, meaning, purpose, value for you, and hold you, accountable, and we hold each other accountable as a team, then we're going to be successful. So leadership is about creating the future with other people. Now we get, though, to the paradox, which I think is the paradox of the book, which is this. You really can't lead others effectively or powerfully until you can lead yourself effectively and powerfully. And so what we see in the very first chapter of the leadership space is that here you are, the leader, okay? And you have to get a hold of what I call your mindset and your emotional environment, right? So we can put the words mindset and emotional environment. And like, what are those terms? Let's define them. Let's look at them. Okay, 1, 2. And there's something else to understand too here, before we dig into this piece, that there's a whole concept in here which comes from an ancient principle, which was also talked about in a modern book by Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He starts his whole book basically talking about how our inner world affects our outer world. And the concept, this ancient concept, is called as within, so without, or it's phrased as within, so without, right? So as we are inside, so we are outside. If we're feeling very positive, then we're on the inside, we're gonna radiate a positive energy outside. If we're feeling very negative on the inside, we're gonna radiate a negative energy outside. If we have low self-esteem, low self-worth, if we don't have self-respect, then we're gonna notice that other people are gonna reflect back to us. They don't respect us. And it's not because they don't respect us, it's because we're not respecting us. Conversely, if we walk around with a great deal of self-respect, you're always going to notice that other people give you respect, because the outer world is a mirror of the inner world. As within, so without. Okay? So it's a very powerful concept that basically says, if I can get a hold of my inner space, my leadership space, my power to create the future, which originates in my own thoughts, in my own feelings, in my own volition to action. I am the source of my own achievements. I'm not saying other people don't matter. I'm not saying there's not other forces in the world. I personally believe in God myself. Not everybody does, but I'm not saying that the world is about me, egotistical. I'm the only factor in my life. But what I am saying is I am the rudder of the ship. I have to choose how I'm going to think about things, how I'm going to view things. And how I think about things and view things is going to affect how I feel about things. And how I feel about things is going to resonate out to other people. It is a very fundamental concept. As within, so without. So understanding that my inner world impacts my outer world gives me power, because that means that I can actually have an influence over the outer world by taking responsibility to have an influence over my inner world. And the way that I can have an influence over my inner world is to become self-aware of the mindset that I have, right? And so the first chapter draws upon two fundamental mindsets, right? As within, so without. Two fundamental mindsets. The book talks about the hero mindset, okay, versus the victim mindset. And we're not saying that people can't be victims. Bad things happen. I get it. That's not what this is about. This is saying that we all have a choice about who we're going to be in the face of circumstances. We can either take a positive attitude, a solution-based mindset. We can focus on what we can do and how we can move forward, or we can shift the way we see things, or we can focus on, no, it sucks. I can't do anything about it. I have no say. I have no power. I'm just have effect of everything, right? So the hero mindset is basically coming from the perspective that I can have an impact on a circumstance by choosing how I'm going to respond to it. Okay? The victim thinks I don't have any power to respond. So the victim mindset is always at the effect of experience. If the day is going well, then I feel good because I'm at the effect of the good day. If the day is going bad, then I feel bad because I'm at the effect of the bad day. So the victim takes the mindset of I'm at the effect of life. Okay? And so we tend to react to that. We tend to react. The hero is thinking, well, wait a second. I am at the cause of my inner world. I'm at the cause of how I think and feel. And so if the day is going bad, you can just shift your perspective. Maybe it's a rainy day, and you might think to yourself originally, oh, today sucks. I can't get anything done. It's raining. Or you can say, you know what? Today's great. It's raining. I can do things that I wouldn't have done on a sunny day. Like maybe I've been trying to get into this book, or maybe I've been trying to, work on some files and get things organized, or maybe I just wanted to hang out with my kid or my partner, or maybe I just wanted to kick back, whatever. There is a way to see things where you can shift your mindset about it. And so the hero mindset is at the cause of their own inner experience. And so instead of reacting, then we are creating. Okay? We are creating our mindset with the hero mindset. We're creating how we see things. We're creating how we feel instead of reacting to things. And this is fundamental. Now, how do you do that? Are there tools? Yeah, there are major tools. So as we move forward, I'll show you in chapter 2 the major set of tools, which are profound. I think they're incredible, and I drew these tools from great authors, great teachers of history. Okay, none of this is fundamentally mine. I just repackage it in a way that I think is really compelling and useful, and step by step the whole way through. And that's what I'm really proud of with this book, is I take you on a hero's journey deep down into the subconscious mind that we all have, where you can discover the levers of power to shift your existence. And it's incredible. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do step by step the whole way through. Okay, chapter 2, I'll teach you deeper tools. Now let's continue along this vein. So we have the power to control our mindset. Our mindset then trickles down into our emotions. I like the story, or the little example I put in there, where your mindset is kind of like the mountain, right? And the emotions is like the stream flowing down from the mountain. And I drew this idea actually from Daniel Goleman, who wrote the book Emotional Intelligence, that we have the power to influence our emotions by taking responsibility for the way we're thinking. And of course, the counter argument is, well, emotions are way more powerful. And yeah, that's true. They are. Sometimes emotions are super powerful, and it's difficult to control them with your thought. And there are other things you can do. Like if you're completely taken over in a reaction and you just can't get a hold of it with a positive mindset, then you can alter your state. Go do some exercises. You can shift your physical state. And that's what Tony Robbins talks about a lot, is when you're really taken over with an emotional reaction, you actually can get into an activity. Maybe you do jumping jacks. Maybe you go and jump in a pool. Maybe you get in a conversation with someone. So I'm not trying to say that this way is the only way. What I'm saying is, by following this process, you will develop a capacity that you didn't have before to take command of your inner space, your leadership space, the power to influence others from who you're being. All right, this takes us then to another concept where which is really called the principle of resonance, okay? That our emotional environment, our mindset and emotional environment, which is ultimately our space, our leadership space, influences other people. It influences how other people feel. Okay, and let's put it this way, it influences other people's feelings. There's an example in the book about a leader. Well, let me say it this way. So the research shows that a leader's mood can have up to a 30% impact on a team's performance. This is fundamental research in this area. And so a leader who is positive, let's say it's a $100 million organization, that leader's positivity can have up to a $30 million impact on the sales performance. I actually just recently saw some research about if you have someone who's a low performer in the group, they can drag down not only their own performance, but they'll drag down the people around them. Conversely, if you have people sitting around a high performer, not only is the high performer going to do better, but they're going to elevate the performance of the people around them automatically. Why? Because of the principle of resonance, which is what the second half of chapter 1 talks about, the principle of resonance, okay? And in the chapter, it also talks, I think, about limbic resonance, which is the resonance that happens between people through our mind. We have this sort of social, biological, neurological structure. It's a little bit of a mouthful, but we are connected at a neurological level, and there's proof for that. And the proof for that is something called mirror neurons. All right, so let me finish one last little story here, and then we will move into the tools of chapter 2. But this is a cool story to kind of wrap this up. So mirror neurons in the human brain are actually structures that allow us to be able to vibe with each other, to experience each other's state of mind, state of emotion. And they discovered this, scientists discovered this by accident. And I tell you the story in the second half of chapter 1 about the scientists are in a lab, and they have a chimpanzee connected to an EKG, and they're measuring its brain waves. And so they're measuring, like, it's eating a banana, and they're measuring, it's kind of, having this experience, and they get it all cataloged. And they're like, okay, that's cool, we got that brainwave. And then they were working on another chimpanzee in another room. And the other chimpanzee was eating a very similar, it might have been bananas, it might have been something else, but the other chimpanzee is having another experience what they're measuring through the EKG, and they're watching it go up and down. But they didn't realize that they forgot to disconnect the first chimpanzee's EKG, and the first chimpanzee's watching the second one that's eating through a window. The first one's not eating anymore, only the second one is. But the first one, their EKG is reading exactly the same measurements as the second chimpanzee that's eating. And that was the moment that scientists discovered that the primate brain, which we have an advanced version of that brain, right, has something inside of it called mirror neurons, which literally allows us to experience other people's emotions. It creates this empathic connection where if you're in a bad mood, I can feel it. If you're in a good mood, I can feel it. If something's off, I can feel it. And this developed through our evolutionary history, basically, so that we could share information very, very quickly in a large social group or a troop. And so we have inherited that mental capacity to feel each other's positive or negative emotions. And some of us can feel it at a great level of detail. So that is why your mood, your emotions, your inner space, your leadership space, the place where you constitute who you are as a person, the way you're being, it has a massive impact on your team because we're hardwired to have that impact on each other. And so what's the takeaway? The takeaway is if you want to elevate your impact on others, if you want to elevate your influence on others, the fastest way to get there is to learn how to take command over your own influence of yourself. And that's what this book is fundamentally about. And I'll tell you exactly how to do it in chapter 2.